former first-round pick in the 2000 NFL Draft, a fierce blocking tight end that played 178 career games over 12 seasons, was your Buccaneers starting tight end from 2005 through 2007, and has been your number one source for everything Buccaneers since he retired in 2012. You're listening to the Walking the Plank podcast with Anthony Becht.
What's up, guys? This is Anthony Becht, and this is another edition of Walking the Plank podcast. Well, week 2 in the books. Buccaneers, huge win at home versus the Carolina Panthers, 31-17 to get their record to 1-1. And as I went back and I watched the game on film, a lot of things stuck out to me. You know, clearly on TV, you guys saw an excellent performance, at least to start the football game, from your quarterback, Tom Brady. I thought he did an excellent job in the pocket. 30, I think it was 23 for 35, 217 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Interception he'll want to have back, obviously, a little bit thrown behind Gronkowski, and a really nice catch and interception by the Panthers on defense. But the 1 touchdown was obviously glaring. I guess when you're talking about glaring negatives in the football game, we'll get to that, but several drops by some players. But to start the football game now offensively, you have to come out at home and really amp your game up and get your offense and defense on the field and have fast starts. It's one thing that I always say leading into games every week is the teams that come out and punch somebody in the mouth early or have some cohesion and continuity on the passing game on offense early in the football game will have the most success overall through 4 quarters. And that's what we saw. I mean, number one, the glaring thing that was really an unbelievable job by the Buccaneers was the protection by their offensive line. I think, you know, when you look at the Carolina Panthers, they're clearly not the same team up front that they have been in the past. But let's be quite frank. I mean, it doesn't really matter. We see it across the league. Guys get sacks. There's pressures. There's missed assignments. There's protection breakdowns. I mean, if you watch and go back and really watch that game, Tom Brady was basically standing in the pocket straight up, no movement at all, barely flushed out a few times in the game, but barely flushed out of the pocket with a ton of time to throw the football. And if you give Tom Brady time to throw the football, you're going to have problems on defense. And let's go back to, if you've heard me speak about the Buccaneers leading into the season, the one thing that I mentioned about defenses that Tom Brady's are going to face is, you know, what are you going to do as far as trying to disrupt Brady? Yeah, you can bring pressure and bring 6 players and, you know, a guy off the edge and 2 up the middle, but he will make you pay now if he finds and dissects that pre-snap and gets it to the receiver quickly. That's the hot route. So, and then you go on the back end is if you try to play guys in space, well, that's a perfect example of what happened yesterday. The Carolina Panthers decided to play coverage versus Tom Brady, and that didn't help because they couldn't get any pass rush. They couldn't rush with 4 guys or 5 guys, and they couldn't get there. So excellent job up front. It starts in the middle. You know, Ryan Jensen, Ali Marpet, those guys did a really nice job of just making sure the pocket was there, right? The biggest thing that Tom Brady in his career that you see him with New England is he wants to catch the ball, whether he's in shotgun or in drop back, and he wants to be able to step up in the pocket. So how do you do that? You have to funnel all the defensive players on the outside. And again, it's a growing process. It's something that, you know, takes time to happen. But when Tom Brady's back there, you see the urgency so far up front from the offensive linemen. I know Donovan Smith was picked on quite a bit last week, but I think he played a phenomenal game in pass protection. Tristan Wirfs, again, the fact that I don't have to talk about him is really glaring for me, right? Because when you're talking about rookies playing tackle in the NFL, it's the hardest thing to do transition-wise, and he does such a phenomenal job. Did a good job in pass protection. The only time he really got pushed back He got pushed back into Brady's lap later on in the football game, ended up being a penalty on the Carolina Panthers. I believe it was Derek Brown coming around the edge with his hand under his neck and face mask that torqued him, kind of bending him backwards. But other than that, man, he was clean as hell. So pass protection, number one, was phenomenal. It's even better because the fact that the backs didn't have to be utilized in pass protection. And also when the tight ends were involved in it as well, Gronkowski did a great job. So from a standpoint of protection, that was great. Now, the passing game in general, which was the highlight of the game, and really the highlight too with some of the negatives, but positively, the one thing that was great to see was Mike Evans was on fire early. I mean, the guy had stickum on his hands. He basically was plucking everything out of the sky, and you see that confidence that Mike has when he gets the ball early in the football game. Really, he's hard to cover. His first big play, the 50-yard catch down the middle, was kind of interesting. It was almost a duplicate play of the interception that you saw last week when Evans ran the middle of the field and they had the two cover two safeties that I had mentioned, and Bruce Arians had said that was on Brady. Well, when in fact I had told you that was on Mike Evans because, one, he didn't run through the defense because that was the read. No safeties, run through the middle and find the seam. Well, basically an identical play. The funny thing about it is we saw the 50-yard catch, but again, as I detail and watch everything happen, it's almost like Mike Evans was still kind of unsure when I watched his tempo and speed going to the middle of the field on that play. Now, Tom Brady didn't lead him, which was great, and he gave him a nice throw just over the linebacker's hands, but he really we call it a two ball. A two ball from a quarterback is when you kind of throw it hard down the seams or up the sidelines in the holes or in the areas to get the ball on the receiver quick. And Tom had a nice two ball just over the reach of the linebacker. And even though Mike Evans was, he wasn't like jogging up the middle, but again, I didn't see that full tempo when he turned his head, which is interesting. But Tom Brady was still able to connect. But whatever that means, it was still a great play, 50 yards down the field. And you see the urgency of Brady in the pocket as far as just seeing the field, had a better understanding of where guys were going to be. Really accurate with his balls. You really saw the feel good. And when he gets time and he feels good, I mean, who's better than Tom Brady in the football game? As far as everybody else, nobody really stood out in the passing game from a receiver standpoint. Scotty Miller last week had a really nice start to his season. But the one thing that I had mentioned was Chris Godwin had to be, at least after you saw on the tape, had to get more touches in that game. Well, he didn't play. So Scotty Miller had some opportunities, but he only had 2 receptions in the game, and he also dropped a touchdown pass early on in the first quarter of the game, and that's something he's got to be able to pull in. The one thing that Tom Brady is going to expect from his receivers is execution and catching the ball. Another play, obviously, in the game, there was a drop by Watson. Watson had a third down crossing route over the middle of the field. And the one thing about that is, listen, tight quarter catches. Brady's used to execution. Edelman catching those balls. Gronkowski catching those balls. That was obviously a down point. The one thing that was glaring, and I feel bad for the kid because he finally got an opportunity to shine, is Cyril Grayson. And Grayson was up the sideline, beautifully designed route. It was funny because the Panthers were in a zone coverage. They fell back, but they really didn't respect and honor Grayson. Think about that. All the weapons that they have, and that's what starts to happen when you play against the Buccaneers. They got to lean on Evans and O.J. Howard, and then Godwin when he's in there playing. These guys have to be recognized in the defense, and sometimes you're going to have lapses. And when you have lapses, a guy like Grayson becomes a wide-open receiver down the sidelines. Now, I don't think he would have scored if he would have caught it because he was right on the out-of-bounds area, kind of had to put his arms and turn his body a little bit, but the throw was right on him, hits off the guy's face, and you saw the disgust. I mean, look, Fox did a great job. He get the cameras back to Brady. Brady gives you some really good body language sometimes throughout the game, and I could just tell he was just kind of, he looked at that, and I don't want to repeat what he was saying to himself, but he's like, really, are you kidding me? But it's a perfect example of what, again, preseason I mentioned about Tom Brady. A lot of people were saying, he's going to lean on Gronkowski early and trying to figure out the offense. That's not how Tom Brady operates. Tom Brady operates on the fact that, look, I give you a pre-snap read. I don't care who's in the game. You're all like guys out there. No one, I'm not throwing because you're Evans or you're Godwin or you're Gronkowski. I'm throwing because the play dictates pre-snap where the ball should go. And if the defense falls into where they're supposed to be, I'm going to throw the ball there. And the perfect example was the Grayson play because he was the open receiver. He was wide open. Brady didn't miss him. He got him the football, and he didn't execute the play. So I think the learning thing here is, look, everybody is live. Never not think your route is not the most important route on the field. It's something that's always preached by coaches. It's never really taken seriously because there are plays that when you run routes, you're just like, there's no shot I'm getting this football. But, man, you never know what happens. Brady leaks out the pocket, or he starts to move, or he has to delay, or his eyes come back because there's pressure. You may be the target. So I think it's a great learning point in the football game moving forward for the Buccaneers. LaShawn McCoy. A lot of people are kind of getting on him. Yeah, did he drop a touchdown? Was it a bad drop? Yes. Does Brady want that to happen? Yes. Well, does he expect it to happen? Yes. The thing about LaShawn McCoy is 7 targets in the game, 5 catches. And the one thing when you see him in the open field is, man, he is fast and quick and hard to bring down on the first tackle, right? You see all the defenders coming with him. He looks like he's got great burst. And the fact he's being utilized sporadically in the game really is a huge weapon for the Buccaneers, especially for him out of the backfield. Now, do I love him in pass protection? No, that's not his world. He showed that last week when he got trucked and gave up a sack in week 1. But the one thing that you notice is that, he is, when he gets a free release, and you can put him in when there's opportunities when he can free release, he can be a really huge and dynamic weapon out of the backfield. So that's how I see it. Now, the tight end standpoint, look, O.J. Howard got 3 targets in the game. They're all open. They're all available for him to make plays. The one crossing route, Brady kind of threw a little bit ahead of him. It was a poor pass. But again, O.J.'s getting 3, 4-ish targets a game. Again, you catch 3 a game for 16 games. All of a sudden, you find yourself creeping around 50 catches. So it adds up a little bit. So if O.J. came into the season thinking he may not get the rock as much, just think about that. 3 targets. Usually you throw the targets to the tight end. They're usually open, and they have a really high probability of catching the football, and they just missed one of them. So, one catch, actually missed 2 of the 3 targets, but he had 1 catch for 11 yards. So statistically, it didn't look good, but he got his opportunities, and Brady's obviously going to have to link up with him a little better because, again, that's a really good weapon to utilize, especially the tight ends. Now, Gronkowski, I'll say this. Again, the talk is he's not being utilized. He looks like he's not, into the passing game. And Brady's not finding him. Look, a lot of weapons on the field, right? He is an important piece of those weapons. I think the number one thing that I've noticed about Gronkowski is an excellent, excellent blocker. He clearly is doing other things on the football field that get overshadowed because of the fact that he's not catching the football early on. He's blocking his butt off, he's pass protecting, and he's doing it at a really high level right now, especially for a guy that's later in his career, that's not trying to be a blocker at the end of it. And he's getting paid $9+ million. Now, with that being said, just because of that alone, and look, it has to be no matter what, he has to be part of the passing game. Now, there was a ball that everybody said he dropped, and yeah, maybe it hit his hands, maybe his arm got pulled on defense. He doesn't drop a lot of balls, so it's not a concern for me. It just kind of turned into a game of dropped balls, and that's what everybody's been kind of griping at from a standpoint of Brady's number should have been that much better. He should have 4 touchdown catches. Yeah, he should have, and he's disappointed. But guys like Gronk, he's always going to continue to come back with. I think for me, Gronkowski needs to get more opportunities in the pass game because you know what? He's there sometimes from a blocking standpoint to help out with Wirfs. He's there to help out with Donovan Smith sometimes. He's the extra and key blocker in the passing game. But I also think that, you can twist those things around. I know O.J. Howard is smooth and he runs fast, but you can split those guys out, open up the offense, and utilize those 2 guys instead of having a Miller or a Watson running the inside routes. I just like a big body guy sometimes. I think Gronkowski should get some of those routes that Watson and potentially Scotty Miller runs when he's the inside target. Now, he was outside, obviously, because there was no Godwin. But I'm just saying, to me, Gronkowski, I feel like you got to get him some feeds throughout the game. It can't be like, I almost feel like it's forced when he runs a route, because when he runs a route, it's almost like he's the featured target, but he doesn't run many routes, right? So how do you build him in so it looks right? So it follows what you're trying to utilize him with. If he's in there for a bunch of run plays, well, guess what? You better have some passes that feed off the run game. If he's an important part in the run blocking game, then play action pass should be part of the offense and part of what you're trying to do to get him the football. So that has to be improved. That has to be better. So when you look at it overall, from a grade standpoint, the offensive line, A+. I mean, seriously, no sacks, only 1 hit on the quarterback. Just a phenomenal job. I mean, I got to give him credit. Joe Gilbert, the offensive line coach for Buccaneers, just a huge jump this year as far as the consistency of play so far early in the season by the offensive line, and I think it can only get better. They need to push themselves. Now, the run game, I forgot to get to the run game. Run game was good. There were some really good things we saw, over 100 yards, 122 yards rushing. 12 carries, 103 yards for Leonard Fournette. Excellent job by him running the football. We talked about last week the scheme. I'm not in love with the scheme because they bunch it up a bit. They did have their cram session run scheme in this game. There's no doubt it was there. They ran a little bit away from where all the bunch up stuff was, but there were times when they ran, when you watch the center and the quarterback from behind and you count from the right side of the center to the left side of the center, how many guys are on the left, how many guys are on the right? Well, there was a play where they had 3 defenders on the left, okay, and they had 6 defenders to the right, and guess where they ran? They ran the ball to the right, and to me, it just doesn't make sense. Spread the guys out. Get the wide receivers out of the line of scrimmage. I mean, hell, I saw Watson in a bunch set. They had him blocking Brian Burns, folks, the defensive end, the stand-up rush end in run game on the outside play was being blocked by Watson. I get it. Sometimes a receiver has to go in there and do that, but come on, man. Like, we don't need it. You don't need the receivers to get involved. You got blocking tight ends on this team. You got a really good offensive line. Let those guys work. Let the receivers get the hell out of there. Last thing we need is a receiver to roll up on his ankle, and all of a sudden we're down a guy because we're trying to crack a defensive end or pin a guy inside with your wide receivers. I saw some other runs, though, in the game. I saw some runs where we did spread out. The best run that I saw to start the football game came in the second quarter. It was just Gronkowski. Comes in motion across. There's only 6 guys in the box, 6 on 6. Everything was spaced out, and the back hits the hole, gets 4 yards, gets tripped up a little bit. Everybody was blocked, but man, the vision that I had from watching it from behind on the film, I can only imagine what the back was feeling when he saw it. It almost probably shocked him how much room he had in space to get up to the field. So those are the things they're going to start seeing on tape that really look good. The touchdown run was great by Fournette. The one thing that he has a subtle difference than Ronald Jones is he sees holes a little better in tight areas, especially because of the fact that the run game right now is so bunched up and so tight. That run that he broke was actually one of those formations where they had a bunch of receivers and tight ends all smashed in together. There's a ton of defenders up, but they're all up in the box. And they all got a hat on the hat, stuck his foot to the right, went back left, cut it back, and nobody was there in the secondary. And an excellent block by Mike Evans. Mike Evans was really the last person there that could block the corner. And Mike saw it out of the corner of his eye, and he went to work, made a huge block, and that ultimately sprung Fournette to make that big run. So, again, did we make strides in the running game? Yes, I'll take that all day. Get that other stuff out of the run game. Continue to do what you were doing. And hopefully that when you watch things on tape, you start working things a little more. Those were some sprinkled runs in there that were not jam-packed with receivers and all kinds of stuff. I like the way they ran the ball with 2 tight end sets. I like that. I would like to see them run 2 tight end sets with a tight end on each side of the line of scrimmage. They ran it mostly with 2 tight ends on one side of the line of scrimmage, which is still a great running option for you. But imagine, here's the thing. Imagine you have tight ends on each side of the tackles in each way. Now you have balance. You cannot dictate where you're going to go from a defensive standpoint. You can't really bring a safety down. Now you can say, okay, I'm going to bring a safety down on Gronk's side because that's the side normally they run to. But O.J. Howard can be just as effective in the blocking game if you allow him to do that. And what happens is now all of a sudden, the safeties have to pull back. And you can get some great play action passes off of that. And I think that's something you'll see, hopefully you'll see, with this offense to even make them better. But they didn't need it. They didn't need it this game because they were great across the board. So running backs, I give these guys an A-. I thought it was their best game of the year. It was nice to see a 100-yard rusher from Fournette. I think Ronald Jones in the game played well. He bounced back well from the fumble. A lot of people trying to figure out exactly what happened on that. It was a delayed handoff. And to me, Ronald Jones, was on the left side of Tom Brady. And when you're accepting the football, on the left side of the quarterback, your right arm will be up with your elbow pointing to Tom. And then your hand on the left side will be under so that when the ball slides in, the ball comes underneath the elbow into the stomach of the running back and he can clamp down. In that situation, it almost looked like Ronald Jones was his arms were in that fashion, but he almost tried to grab it with his hands, like just kind of squeeze it instead of accepting it within the actual handle of the running back position. So again, that's something that needs to be worked on. I did tweet he's probably going to be done for the game because usually that's been the MO, but he bounced back. It's good to see that because in general, there's a lot of competition going on for the running back reps, and it's very tough to decipher who or what it's going to be in the game, and the guys that kind of show up consistently each week will get more snaps, but it's nice to see the change-up that you can have because McCoy is a weapon. Now, he had one carry for -5 yards, not necessarily what you want to see, but I don't think he's the guy for that. I mean, an extension of the quick pass game and also some passes in the field I think are great. The quick pass game is very similar to what the run game would be for LaShawn, so he should like that. He can get in space. I would much rather see him catch a ball, and he'll make the first, maybe even the second guy miss on tackles because he's just got so much lateral quickness and speed that it is a serious weapon. So we graded the offensive line A+. The running backs get an A-. Receivers, I'm going to have to give the receivers a B-. Mike Evans did his job. He did an excellent job. Everybody else sporadically did something, but way too many drops in the football game, especially the fact that those balls were money right in the hands of Tom Brady was dishing them out into the receiver's hands. Just a phenomenal throwing performance. I mean, the numbers don't really speak the volumes of what his actual statistics should have been. But again, 23 for 35, 217 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He'd like to have that interception back. 2 games in a row with interceptions, not what you want to see. But again, did enough in the football game to be productive. I give Tom a B in this football game just because of the fact that execution, from the receivers is going to be part of what Tom did. But I'll give him a B because, look, he's the greatest he's the greatest in the game, okay? If I give him an A, all right, then what are you trying to attain here? So I gotta humble him a little bit, give him a B, but deep down inside, I saw a really, really stunning performance by your quarterback. So that was good to see. That's kind of what you got from an offensive standpoint. And again, moving forward, I think it's only going to get better. Now, the defensive side of the football, I'll tell you, a lot of stuff going on early in this football game, okay? It started with the second series, Whitehead got himself an interceptions. And what was nice about that was, and maybe it was the first series as I go back and look at my notes, but got himself an interception, very aggressive in the football game. Number 33 was running around doing a lot of great things. I was really impressed by his play and his aggressiveness and being in the right spots. Number one thing about DBs is it's always hard because when you do a mixture of things, being in the right spot, especially in pass protection and pass coverage, that's kind of the key. And with Todd Bowles, he's going to mix it up. He's going to have guys everywhere, and that's important. The more that you're accountable for your actions on defense from a secondary standpoint, the more that Todd Bowles can do in a football game to really spice up the blitz packages and the movements and the thing that they want to do to get the offense off their stride. Some of the glaring notes from a Carolina standpoint, I thought they did a great job of just stopping Christian McCaffrey and just pounding on him. I mean, this guy in this football game took hit after hit after hit. 18 rushes for 59 yards. He did have 2 touchdowns. I get that. But man, usually one of those 18 carries is going to break, and that's where he kind of gets and goes off. And McCaffrey, every single time he touched the ball was a grind for him. He had to get through the tackles. He had to find ways to get extra yards, and they weren't there. So great job tackling. Great job by the backers. Excellent job by just not allowing him to be the menace that he had been over the last couple years, and they shut him down. So kudos to the backers and the line, too, for just not creating a lot of openings for him to get in. And, it's always tough for linebackers when they got blockers coming up to the second level to contain McCaffrey if he does get to him. And they did a nice job on their tackles and being in the right spots. We call that being gap sound across the board on defense. Now, Teddy Bridgewater, look, big fan of him. He had a pretty good game, 367 yards, 33 for 42. That's probably just a click high 70s% clip, maybe even 80%, but 2 interceptions were big in his football game. Buccaneers took advantage of that. Not only that, they had 4 turnovers total, the Carolina Panthers did. Huge, almost a guaranteed victory. Probably 99.9% of the time you're winning the football game if you get 2 or more turnovers, and the Bucs got 4. No touchdown passes. I thought that was critical. Now, there were some big plays in the pass game that the Buccaneers want to have back, and it wasn't anything in general, but listen, the offense for Carolina had to change their scheme. They had to throw the ball a ton. Obviously, their plan's not to have Bridgewater throw the ball 42 times, but he was, very efficient. DJ Moore had a bunch of catches. Robbie Anderson found some holes. They had a few lapses on some of the deep balls. But, man, Carlton Davis in the same series late in the second half, he rolls back and plays a little safety in a cover two, and he's not able to get back to the sidelines as Robbie Anderson runs up to the side and catches the football. And because of that, he gives up a big play. But a couple plays down after that, he makes an awesome interception, jumping in front of a deep in route. He called it an indigo route when Teddy Bridgewater is trying to really stick one in there. And he does a really nice job of not allowing that to happen and get himself an interception. So really good. Defensive line, 5 sacks, I believe 9.5 TFLs across the board, which is including the safeties and the run and the linebackers. But really nice job up front. JPP does a nice job. Got himself into the action as a defender with a sack. I believe he had 1 sack. And Ndamukong Suh had 2 sacks, really productive. I even saw him chasing down a little screen play to the sidelines, makes the tackle. Just great to see an older veteran like that, putting it on tape that he's doing those things, because that will rub off on the young players. Shaq Barrett, no sacks, but I'm telling you, man, he's a freak because he's got tremendous speed. Found himself really good position in some of those receiver screens, getting to the outside, chasing down backs, preventing things to get outside of him. Does a really nice job of that. And even Will Golston, I'll tell you, in his opportunities does a good job. Vita Vea, really good push in the football game. Just hard to block one-on-one. Showed that in the football game as well. So the guys up front did a really nice job for the Buccaneers and really stood out. And that's what's needed. Hits on the quarterback and sacks, and they had a nice mix of that tied in with the turnovers, and things were looking really bright for the guys up front. Devin White leads the charge again and tackles really good. Now, the guy that stuck out to me overall that I just think we need to step back and speak about is the rookie. Antonio Winfield Jr. did a really nice job in that football game. And the one thing that I like about Todd Bowles right now, I think in the back of his mind, he's giving him more responsibilities every week. And what I mean by that is, Todd came from the Jets, where they drafted Jamal Adams under his tenure. And we all know Jamal Adams. We saw him on Sunday Night Football all over the field. He's on the outside rushing. He comes from the linebacker depth. He's dropping back in coverage. He's covering guys. He's doing so much stuff. If you go back and you're bored and you want to watch the game again, watch Antonio Winfield and where he's lined up in the game, okay? He's off the edge, right, as a rush guy. Gets himself a strip, okay? Then he's in the middle of the field. Then he's back in coverage. I think Todd Bowles is trying to figure out, can he put enough on Antonio Winfield's plate every week, just a little bit, that I can create some type of, I don't want to even say poor man's Jamal Adams, because I'll tell you, if Winfield continues to do what he's doing, I mean, he's going to be a phenomenal player for this football team. So a great pick in the draft. I love this kid out of college. He was the best defensive player, best safety, really, in the Big Ten at Minnesota. A guy can hit. He can tackle. He's got great awareness. He's good in protection. Excuse me, I keep saying protection, but coverage on the back end. So his plate is getting kind of, he's getting second helpings here. Todd Bowles is delivering it to him, but he has to execute, and he has. I love it. I think he is really just going to be a factor now when you're talking about what other guys can do, because if he can do some things in different positions, then all of a sudden you got even more weapons, even more speed, acceleration, and things come at the quarterback's face. And just it becomes hard to read because Todd wants to mix it up, give you some wrinkles. And again, you want to get to Todd's page 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 of his 20-play page book. Now, it's more than that, but I'm just saying, if the book was 20 pages, he ain't on the back end yet because he's trying to work it, trying to believe in it. I think he kind of turned a page and got a little closer to the back of it, which was great. So, again, it was good to see across the board. So, Carolina Panthers got some points, picked up some yards late in the second half, completely controlled the game in the first half. And, again, things change. You're down 21 points. It becomes a different ball game. You're never really defending during the week thinking, okay, you're going to be up 21 points. Now they're going to pass every play. That's just not how it works. You're working on third and shorts and third and mid and all these different scenarios on defense throughout the week that you're not really playing to kick a team's butt, So that was the change. You're going to give up some yards, a little safer play on the secondary, keep everything in front of you, don't give up the big play. And clearly that was the case with no touchdown passes in the game. So Really good. So let's give some grades. Defensive line, again, 5 sacks. What more could you ask for? Lots of pressure, good hits on the quarterback. I give them an A- in the football game. Can they be better? Yes. Is that championship football that I saw up front in that game? Absolutely. And guys got out healthy. It was good to see. Linebackers, from a standpoint of, look, if my linebackers are in the top 3 tacklers on the football team in the box charts after the game, then you know what? You're doing some good things, because that means that the running back's not getting to past the second level. You're not giving up huge runs, and they're in the right spots doing the right thing. So 11 tackles for Devin White, 6 for Levante David. Amazing game for both of those guys. Again, they continue to show and prove that they may be the best, arguably the best linebacker combination in the league. In the secondary, huge strides in the secondary. They didn't give up a touchdown pass. 2 interceptions is huge. You got to have turnovers. Fact that they had to change their offense, the Carolina Panthers did, the pass in the second half. It extended the protection a little bit, but the guys stepped up and didn't let anything go over the top of their head. Some guys that stuck out: Antonio Winfield, Jamal Dean played better in this game, not only in the pass but also on the run, made some nice breakups. Sean Bunting did a nice job as well, doing some attacking, being in some attacking positions of the football game. So the back end did a really nice job. Give those guys a B+. And special teams, you know what? I don't have to talk about them. Everybody did their job. There's no mess-ups. There's no footballs. There's no fumbles. There's no botched punts, catches. And the kicker did his job as well, which was nice to see. Blocking was good. Suck up 1 for 1 on his field goals. He made all his extra points. And you know what? Life is good with special teams, because I'm only spending about 45 seconds talking about it. So huge win, 31-17 versus the Carolina Panthers. Bucs get their first win at home. I expect them to win every game at home. 8-0 at home is the goal. You want to lock the gates. People come into your house. You want to make sure you protect your house, and I think that's what they'll do this year. I really think they have a really strong probability of doing that. And then can you win, 4 out of 8 on the road? That'll get you 12. That would be a bonus. And now you can put yourself in a position to make a run. Are there places to improve? Yes, which is great. Did they control and win this game all the way through? Yes. And I think that's the biggest thing when you're looking at this team is right now they can push themselves, they can be better, and they're going to have an opportunity to even get better than they did this past game. So looking for some even better play. Nothing's guaranteed, folks. Remember, from game 1 to game 2, nothing's guaranteed. You can never do the same. You never do the most. Try to be consistent, but you have to execute. And again, going into game 3, there's nothing guaranteed. We'll talk about game 3 when I drop the Walking the Plank podcast on Friday morning. Remember, guys, please, I'm new to this, subscribe, like. I need reviews. If you're listening to this, write some reviews into the iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever the hell you call it, and let me know what you think of this. And hopefully this was some great information. This was Walking the Plank podcast. I'm Anthony Becht. I'll see you Friday.
You've been listening to Walking the Plank with Anthony Becht. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, or Google Play to get new, fresh weekly episodes. For more, give us a follow on Twitter at Anthony_Becht, on Facebook at The Anthony Becht, or visit our website at anthonybecht.com. Until next time, go Bucs!